Over the course of 23 films spread out over the last 12 years, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has gifted us with more iconic cinematic superhero moments than anyone can count. Yet for every outstanding scene which instantly made fans leap out of their seats, or cry tears of joy/sorrow in cinemas all over the world, there's always another which holds more secrets than we initially realized during our first watches of an MCU flick. But due to the fact that suddenly hitting the pause button in the middle of a public screening of an Avengers movie thankfully isn't a thing yet, most fans are forced to wait until a feature has been released on home video or a streaming service to really break down those juicy moments, which frustratingly passed them by originally. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are the 10 most paused moments in MCU history. Number 10. The Infinity Gauntlet, Thor. During a scene in 2011's Thor involving some frost giants attempting to steal the casket of ancient winters, fans were given a tour of Odin's vault on Asgard. It was here where we spotted a number of mysterious artifacts. However, one rather vital weapon seemed to initially pass us by in an instant. As the frost giants are incinerated by the Destroyer in the vault, the mighty Infinity Gauntlet, equipped with all 6 Infinity Stones, can be spotted for a split second before they meet their explosive end. Of course, this particular gauntlet would eventually be explained away as nothing more than a fake in Thor Ragnarok during Hela's wander through the very same vault. But this very subtle moment was clearly dropped into the flick to tease what would eventually become one of the most important events/storylines in the MCU. Number 9. Beta Ray Bill was a champion, Thor Ragnarok. When it comes to Thor Ragnarok, one moment instantly left many avid Marvel Comics fans double-taking the cinema screen during their first experience with Taika Waititi's vibrant flick. As Valkyrie first pulls into the Grandmaster's rather impressive palace on Sakaar, a number of faces can be spotted on the humongous skyscraper. At a glance, the identities of the various heads almost went over ours. But if you take a moment to pause and study the architecture on show here, we catch a closer look at none other than Beta Ray Bill, a wielder of Mjolnir in the comics. We'd later realize that these faces were in fact the manipulative Grandmaster's former champions, with Bill joining the likes of Ares, Man-Thing, and the Dark Crawler. As awesome as this sculpted cameo was though, most fans will admit that we've waited long enough to see the horse-faced icon make his official MCU debut. Number 8. Black Widow's stunt double, Avengers Assemble. This commonly paused moment does not involve an Easter egg or teases for a bright future ahead. Instead, this blink and you'll miss it Avengers Assemble beat reveals that some MCU sequences require more than just a famous face to pull off. During an early scene in the first of the MCU's many highly successful ensemble features, Black Widow is seen being interrogated by some soon-to-be dispatched goons. Yet if you're able to skillfully pause the scene during the physical exchange which eventually unfolds, you'll be able to spot Scarlett Johansson's stunt double, Heidi Moneymaker, performing everything from Black Widow's chair smash escape to her mind-blowing drop-kip kip-up maneuver. Now, it's common for stars to depend on folks with a genuine background in stunts and martial arts to pull off this sort of intricate fight scene. Yet on this occasion, we were able to quite clearly make out that it was Moneymaker kicking all kinds of ass at various points in the scene, giving the ridiculously talented stuntwoman a well-deserved moment in the spotlight in the process. Number 7. The Avengers finally assemble, Avengers Endgame. From the moment we first saw the core group of Avengers join forces on the battlefield in Avengers Assemble, to that jaw-dropping slow-motion visual of the squad all diving into action in Age of Ultron, the MCU has gifted us with many an aesthetically pleasing ensemble shot over the years. However, none of these multiple Avengers sequences compare to Endgame's assembling of the entire cinematic universe's available good guys and gals. So when the feature finally made its way onto streaming platforms and home video, it wasn't long before fans were excitedly pausing this particular sequence to see how many familiar faces they could spot in the most formidable hero rush you're ever likely to see. From the airborne likes of Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Star-Lord, to sprinting fearless warriors such as Black Panther, Drax, and Thor. This riveting shot is equipped with both an embarrassment of Marvel riches and the ability to make you cry, cheer, or just press rewind to watch it all over again every time you experience it. Number 6. Steve Rogers' list, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. As the MCU began to expand more and more with each subsequent feature, Steve Rogers was forced to quickly adapt to his new surroundings. After falling into the ice during World War II and waking up nearly 70 years later. So the leader of the Avengers made a point of putting together a list of things he needed to brush up on in order to get up to date with modern society. During the Winter Soldier, and a scene that involves one of the MCU's most endearing friendships kick-starting, fans are given a sneak peek at this pop culture go-to handbook. If you hit pause at just the right moment, you'll notice, along with Sam Wilson's edition of Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man soundtrack, everything from Rocky and Rocky 2 to Steve Jobs as things the super soldier needs to brush up on. Brilliantly, this list was actually altered depending on what country you watch the flick in, with the UK's list containing the Beatles, for example. Nice touch, Marvel, I like it. Number 5. The Avengers Disassembled, Avengers Age of Ultron. This particular shot of various Avengers all joined together on the big screen left fans immediately putting the scenario under the microscope for a more morbid reason than any of its contemporaries. We're talking, of course, about the frightening vision Tony Stark experiences in the opening stages of Age of Ultron, thanks to Wanda Maximoff's telepathic abilities. In the harrowing scene, we witness what appears to be Stark's fellow Avengers, and perhaps some other personalities we hadn't been introduced to yet, all defeated on the ground. Understandably, those watching this scene in the cinema for the very first time weren't able to clearly spot each and every potentially dead character on show. But after gaining the ability to freeze the frame later down the line, it became clear that this wasn't in fact a chance to show off some new incoming faces, as there weren't any. In this moment, Stark was actually visualizing his greatest fear: that the original group of Earth's mightiest heroes and the planet as a whole would be overcome and conquered if Stark didn't do something to stop this inevitable threat. Thankfully, in the end, this vision only came partly true, with Black Widow's death and Captain America's shield breaking both going down in Endgame. Number 4. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s places of interest, Iron Man 2. By the time Iron Man 2 hit screens in 2010, it was clear Kevin Feige and co were building towards something rather big and rather special further down the line. We'd already seen Nick Fury pop up at the end of the first Tony Stark-led feature, and the latter show up in the end credits of The Incredible Hulk. However, a map in the background of a Stark and Fury meeting in the second Iron Man feature seemed to tease a world far bigger than the one we'd occupied thus far. Once the conversation between the two MCU MVPs had been paused just for a moment, eagle-eyed fans were able to spot a number of S.H.I.E.L.D's highlighted places of interest. On show here was the place where Mjolnir had crash-landed, Steve Rogers' last known location before his plane crashed in 1945, what appears to be the kingdom of Atlantis ruled by Namor, and most interestingly, Wakanda. Though some of these locations wouldn't be properly explored for years to come, Marvel clearly had their eyes on the bigger picture here. Number 3. The Collector's Collection, Guardians of the Galaxy. Not only did 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy somehow make us care about a talking tree and a raccoon, but it also successfully introduced us to the gigantic galactic Marvel universe. Sure, we traveled to Asgard and the odd other planet in the Thor movies, but James Gunn's feature took that cosmic ball and sprinted with it. Never was the sheer size and unexplored potential of this intergalactic expansion felt more than when the team of unlikely heroes ventured to nowhere to meet the Collector. Here, Taneleer Tavan's mighty collection of relics and species were explored by the Guardians, and Easter egg-hungry fans with one finger on the pause button. Throughout this sequence, everything from Cosmo the space dog to a dark elf can be spotted in the various glass cells which make up Tavan's collection. Oh, and Howard the Duck even pops up in it during Guardians of the Galaxy's end credit zinger. Unfortunately, with Thanos absolutely wrecking the place in his quest to get his hands on every Infinity Stone during Infinity War, it looks like the Collector and his Easter egg-heavy museum may be permanently out of commission in the MCU. Or is it? Number 2, a quantum glimpse, Ant-Man. Though few fans were really clamoring for an Ant-Man MCU feature before 2015, Peyton Reed's pint-sized story about ex-criminal Scott Lang gradually becoming the new shrinking hero managed to become yet another unexpected hit for the studio. Yet Ant-Man also teased what the future would hold for Marvel's epic Infinity Saga. Earlier in the film, Lang is told by Hank Pym about how the latter lost his wife and the original Wasp, Janet Van Dyne, to the quantum realm when she chose to go subatomic whilst disabling a Soviet nuclear missile. In the end, however, after being informed that a similar thing could happen to him if he chose to override the suit's regulator, Lang chooses to ignore this advice and go subatomic to defeat Darian Cross. It's here where Ant-Man finds himself in the quantum realm, and after he incredibly reverses the effects and begins to escape the subatomic world, we were also able to spot the faint outline of Janet alive in her suit for just a second. This blink and you'll miss it highly paused moment would eventually pave the way for a rescue mission to retrieve Janet in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and also open the door for the use of the unpredictable quantum realm in Endgame to travel through time and retrieve the Infinity Stones. Number 1, Captain America's prototype shield, Iron Man 2. On top of the aforementioned shield places of interest bombshells, Natasha Romanoff / Black Widow joining the universe, and Mjolnir eventually making a dramatic appearance in the post-credits scene, one of the most iconic pieces of equipment in Marvel history makes its first major appearance in Iron Man 2. We say major as Captain America's unmistakable shield, or at least a prototype version of it, also appears in the background of Tony Stark's garage during the first Iron Man movie, but that brief tease was easily missed. However, the defensive item's appearance in Iron Man 2 forced multiple double takes and numerous pauses / replays once fans realized what they were seeing. When Agent Coulson asked why the wisecracking Iron Man had possession of this distinct prototype device, Stark overlooks the importance of the object and just uses the shield to prop up his own project. Though this wasn't actually the real deal, this beat gave us one of our first looks at a version of a shield, which would find itself at the center of the MCU's most important moments going forward.